In a world drowning in noise, where everyone fights to be louder, have you ever wondered, what if true power lies in silence? Imagine walking into a room, not the loudest, not the flashiest, yet all eyes naturally turn to you. This is the timeless art of being silently attractive, an aura built not on words, but on presence. The Stoics knew this secret. Strength doesn't need to shout. Today, we will uncover how silence, simplicity, and inner mastery can make you magnetic in a chaotic world. Think of the last time you felt overlooked. Perhaps at work, in a crowded room, or even among friends. You spoke, but your words dissolved in the noise. You tried harder, only to feel emptier. We've all been there, exhausted by the pressure to stand out, fearful of being invisible. But what if the answer isn't louder words, but deeper presence? The Stoics teach us that attraction begins not with others' approval, but with the quiet mastery of ourselves. From that silence grows unshakable strength. 2,000 years ago, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca wrestled with chaos just as we do today. They discovered a truth. Control lies not in the world outside, but within our own mind. Stoicism is not about being cold or detached. It is about living with clarity, dignity, and purpose. These timeless teachings hold the key to a magnetic presence, authenticity, stillness, and self-command. And when you embody them, you don't just attract attention, you inspire respect. In this video, we will explore 7 Stoic principles that will show you how to be silently attractive. You'll learn how authenticity, style, presence, compassion, wisdom, and independence create a magnetic aura. These are not tricks or surface tactics. They are timeless practices, tested by centuries, that will transform how you carry yourself. By the end, you will understand how to let your silence speak louder than words, and how to live with a presence that inspires. The first Stoic principle of silent attraction is authenticity, the power of being yourself. In a world that constantly pressures us to conform, to wear masks, and to adjust our true colors to please others, authenticity becomes a rare jewel. Too often, we silence our passions, hide our quirks, or pretend to hold beliefs that are not truly ours, fearing rejection. Yet the Stoics remind us that what makes us magnetic is not the mask we wear, but the truth we live. When you align with your inner compass, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you radiate an energy that cannot be fabricated. People are not drawn to perfection, they are drawn to presence. To be authentic is not to impress everyone, but to stand firm, unapologetically, as yourself. The quiet power of authenticity becomes the very foundation of a lasting and magnetic presence. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Replace man with person, and the wisdom remains timeless." This line strikes at the heart of authenticity. Instead of endlessly debating what it means to be attractive, likable, or respected, the Stoics call us to live it. Attraction is not a formula to be solved, but a truth to be embodied. When your life is guided by virtue, when your words align with your actions, you command attention without asking for it. Marcus knew that character, not speeches, creates presence. To live as a person of truth is to shine silently in a noisy world. The Stoic way teaches us that living with authenticity does not require announcement. It simply requires the courage to be. Consider the life of Epictetus. Born into slavery, with no wealth, no status, and no control over his circumstances, one might think he was destined to be invisible. Yet Epictetus became one of the most respected philosophers in history. How? By living with complete authenticity. He never pretended to be more than he was, nor did he let his chains define him. His teachings carried a power that came not from titles, but from truth. People who came to learn from him were drawn to his integrity, his humility, and his unwavering dignity. Even in silence, his presence spoke louder than the voices of wealthier, more celebrated men. His life proves that attraction does not come from possessions, social rank, or applause, but from alignment with one's true nature. Authenticity is strength, and it is this kind of strength that silently commands respect, even across centuries. In today's world, authenticity is just as rare and just as powerful. Social media often rewards masks, curated smiles, filtered perfection, and words spoken for approval rather than truth. But beneath the surface, people hunger for something real. To live authentically today is to dare to stand by your values, even when society pressures you to conform. It means setting clear boundaries, saying no when necessary, and saying yes to what truly fuels you. It means showing your passions openly without fear of judgment, embracing your flaws as part of your story, and living consistently in thought, word, and action. When you live this way, you become magnetic, not because you chase attention, but because truth naturally commands it. Silent attraction begins with authenticity, the courage to live unfiltered. In a world full of noise, the rare voice of truth, the presence of a real person, shines brightest. Principle 2. Style speaks volumes. The second Stoic principle of silent attraction is style, the way you present yourself to the world. Your appearance speaks long before your words do. Stoicism does not demand that you ignore clothing, grooming, or aesthetics. Instead, it teaches intentionality, to live with purpose even in how you dress. Style is not about chasing trends or drowning in luxury. It is about alignment between the inner self and the outer image. When you wear what reflects your character, you stand taller, feel more confident, and move with clarity. True style whispers, it does not shout. It creates presence without begging for attention. And when people see you embodying both dignity and simplicity, they sense something rare, a person in harmony with themselves. That harmony is magnetic. Seneca once wrote, "We should live according to nature, not to parade in borrowed finery." His words remind us that our outer expression should not be a costume for others, but a reflection of our true selves. To chase every passing fashion or to cover ourselves in extravagance is to betray simplicity, one of the Stoic virtues. Style, then, is not about expense but about truth. A simple, well-chosen garment says more about your character than 100 flashy accessories. When you present yourself with intention, your very presence communicates clarity, self-respect, and quiet dignity. People sense authenticity not in how much you wear, but in how aligned it is with who you truly are. Consider the example of Marcus Aurelius. As emperor of Rome, he could have draped himself in the finest silks and jewels. Instead, he chose a simple cloak, plain sandals, and a demeanor free of excess. His style was not meant to impress the masses, but to remind himself of his duty, to live in accordance with virtue, not vanity. His soldiers admired him, not because of the shine of his garments, but because of the consistency between his philosophy and his life. Centuries later, we still picture Marcus not in golden robes, but in calm, steady presence. His legacy teaches us that style, when rooted in simplicity and purpose, becomes timeless. It transcends the fleeting desires of fashion and instead reflects character. Just as his plain cloak became a symbol of integrity, your style can become an expression of your authenticity, a quiet signature that commands respect. In modern life, style still speaks volumes. Think of how you feel when you wear clothes that truly reflect who you are: comfortable, confident, alive. Now think of when you force yourself into something that doesn't fit your nature: awkward, constrained, uneasy. Authentic style isn't about being fashionable, it's about being aligned. It could be a clean shirt, a thoughtful accessory, or even the way you carry yourself. What matters is that it tells the truth about you. In a world filled with borrowed looks and curated personas, authenticity is refreshing. People sense when someone's appearance reflects integrity rather than insecurity. So instead of asking, "What will impress them?" ask, "What reflects me?" With each deliberate choice, your style becomes your silent statement, a message of dignity, confidence, and presence. And when you live this way, you don't need to speak loudly to be noticed. Principle 3. Be here now. The third Stoic principle of silent attraction is presence, the art of being fully here, now. In a world of endless distractions, our minds scatter, one eye on the phone, one thought on the past, another racing toward the future. Yet nothing is more magnetic than someone who gives you their full attention. Stoicism reminds us, the present moment is the only thing we truly own. When you stand firmly in the now, people feel it. They sense your focus, your calm, your respect. Presence is rare and therefore powerful. It tells others, you matter, this moment matters. And when you live this way, you create connections that are deeper, stronger, and unforgettable. Seneca once said, we are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there will be no end of them. His words cut through our illusion of endless time. The Stoics remind us that presence is not just politeness, it is wisdom. Each moment, once past, is lost forever. To be present is to honor the preciousness of now. When you look someone in the eye, when you listen without distraction, you practice philosophy in its purest form. You say, without words, this moment has value. Presence is magnetic because it is rare. People feel seen, heard, understood. And in a noisy world, that kind of silent attention becomes unforgettable. Imagine a Roman general returning from battle. The crowd roars, the senators argue, the empire demands decisions. Yet Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by chaos, sits calmly with his young son. He listens, not half-heartedly, but fully, with presence. That moment, historians tell us, left an impression far greater than his speeches in the Senate. Why? Because presence has weight. Centuries later, we still remember Marcus not just as emperor, but as a man who embodied stillness amidst storms. In our own lives, think of the rare teacher who made you feel heard, or the friend who gave you undivided attention. Their words may fade, but the memory of their presence remains. Like Marcus, when you learn to be here now, you transform ordinary moments into timeless bonds. Presence is not grand, but it is unforgettable. It is the silent language of true strength. Today, presence is almost revolutionary. In meetings, most people glance at their screens. At home, families eat together but live in different worlds, each lost in devices. To be present is to resist this tide. It means putting the phone away, looking someone in the eyes, and listening as though nothing else exists. This practice transforms not only your relationships, but also your inner life. Stress often comes from replaying the past or fearing the future. By being here now, you free yourself from that weight. You give others a rare gift, undivided attention. People remember not what you said, but how you made them feel, and nothing feels stronger than being truly seen. Presence is not complicated. It is simply difficult in a distracted age. But if you practice it, your silence will carry more power than 1,000 words. Be here now, and watch the world lean closer. Principle 4. Cultivate cultural wisdom. The fourth Stoic principle of silent attraction is cultural wisdom, the ability to see beyond your own world. Stoicism teaches us that we are not just citizens of one city or one nation, but of the cosmos. The more we open ourselves to the lives, traditions, and struggles of others, the richer our presence becomes. Cultural wisdom is not about memorizing facts or collecting stamps on a passport. It is about empathy. It is about listening to stories that are not our own and honoring perspectives that challenge us. When you understand and appreciate diversity, you carry a depth that people immediately feel. You become someone who bridges differences, someone whose presence speaks of wisdom. In a divided world, this quality is magnetic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "My city and my country, so far as I am Ananias, is Rome, but as a human being, it is the world." These words remind us of the Stoic principle of cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all part of one great human family. To cultivate cultural wisdom is to live this truth. It means respecting the traditions of others without judgment, learning from their stories, and finding the common humanity that binds us. In a world where division often overshadows unity, this perspective becomes a beacon of attraction. People are drawn to those who see beyond borders, who carry empathy not only for their own, but for all. Cultural wisdom silently communicates maturity, compassion, and a sense of belonging that extends far beyond the self. Seneca once reflected on traveling, not for leisure, but for perspective. He wrote that by seeing the customs of other peoples, we learn how many ways there are to live and how narrow our own view often is. Imagine a Roman philosopher entering a foreign market, surrounded by languages he cannot speak, foods he has never tasted, and rituals unfamiliar to him. Instead of rejecting them, he observes with curiosity. That humility transforms him. Centuries later, we can see the same lesson in figures who embraced cultural wisdom, leaders who listened across differences, scholars who learned from traditions outside their own, and everyday people who found kinship across borders. Their presence carried weight because it carried depth. To cultivate cultural wisdom is to be like that philosopher in the foreign market, curious, respectful, and open. Such openness radiates silent attraction, for it signals not arrogance, but empathy, not ignorance, but wisdom. In our modern age, cultural wisdom is both easier and harder to cultivate. Easier, because technology gives us access to every corner of the world. Harder, because we often stay trapped in our own bubbles. To practice Stoic cultural wisdom today means seeking out voices different from your own. It could be as simple as reading a book by an author from another culture, learning a few words of a new language, or listening deeply to a colleague's story. Each step enriches you. This is not about appearing worldly for show, but about becoming broader in spirit. People are drawn to those who carry many perspectives within them. Such depth creates trust, curiosity, and silent admiration. When you embody cultural wisdom, you no longer walk into a room as just yourself. You carry with you the voices, colors, and lessons of humanity. And that presence is unforgettable. Principle 5. Compassion connects. The fifth Stoic principle of silent attraction is compassion, the power of connecting through empathy. In a world where many rush, judge, and dismiss, compassion shines like golden light in darkness. Stoicism is often mistaken as cold, but true Stoic practice teaches us to see our shared humanity. Compassion does not mean pity. It means truly understanding the joys and sorrows of others. When you meet someone with open presence, when your eyes say, "I see you," people feel it. Compassion is magnetic because it is rare, and it communicates silently that you carry warmth, depth, and strength. Attraction is not only about appearance. It is about the invisible bond you create through care. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids. To work against one another is contrary to nature." His words remind us that compassion is not weakness, but alignment with nature. We are designed for connection. When we practice empathy, we fulfill our purpose as human beings. Stoic compassion means treating others not as obstacles, but as fellow travelers in the struggle of life. It means listening without judgment, offering support without seeking recognition. People are drawn to those who embody this quiet strength. Compassion makes you magnetic, not because it flatters, but because it reveals your humanity. And humanity, at its core, is irresistible. History tells us of Epictetus, who, despite a life of hardship, never lost compassion. Students wrote that he welcomed the poor, the suffering, and the curious alike. He listened deeply, never rushing, never mocking, but guiding with patience. One story tells of a young student ashamed of his ignorance. Instead of harshness, Epictetus smiled and said, "It is not shameful to learn. It is shameful only to refuse learning." That small act of compassion turned shame into hope, and the student flourished. This is the silent power of empathy. It transforms lives without needing to raise a voice. In our own lives, we remember not the cleverest words spoken to us, but the moments when someone truly understood us. Like Epictetus, when you lead with compassion, you leave a mark deeper than gold. Compassion is not noise. It is quiet strength that outlasts time. In modern life, compassion is often overshadowed by competition. We rush to achieve, to win, to stand out. And in the process, we forget the quiet power of empathy. Yet nothing makes you more silently attractive than genuine compassion. Imagine listening to a friend not with impatience, but with presence. Imagine offering help without expecting reward. These simple acts change the atmosphere of a room. They tell others, you are not alone. Compassion is practical stoicism. It dissolves conflict, builds trust, and creates bonds that endure. In workplaces, compassion creates loyalty. In relationships, it builds intimacy. In communities, it creates belonging. The world has enough critics, cynics, and competitors. What it lacks, and what it craves, is compassion. Practice it, and you will discover that the most magnetic presence is not the loudest or the boldest, but the one who quietly carries the strength of an open heart. Principle 6. Self-care shows self-value. The sixth Stoic principle of silent attraction is self-care, the quiet declaration that you value yourself. In a world that glorifies overwork, self-neglect is often mistaken for dedication. But the Stoics knew, you cannot serve the world if you are broken inside. Self-care is not indulgence, it is responsibility. It means treating your body as the vessel of your mind, and your mind as the guide of your life. When you sleep well, eat with balance, move with strength, and guard your peace, you radiate an energy that others feel. People are drawn to those who respect themselves because it signals strength, stability, and dignity. To care for yourself is not selfish. It is the foundation upon which all silent attraction is built. Epictetus once taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. Self-care is mastery in practice. It is the discipline of knowing your limits, protecting your energy, and nurturing what makes you strong. The Stoics viewed the body not as something to worship, nor to neglect, but as a partner in virtue. If you exhaust yourself, you cannot think clearly. If you starve your spirit, you cannot live wisely. To value yourself is to care for the gift of life given to you. People respect those who take care of themselves because it shows discipline, balance, and quiet confidence. Self-care is not vanity, it is virtue in action, and that virtue silently attracts. Consider Marcus Aurelius. As emperor of Rome, he carried the weight of an empire. Yet his journals reveal a man who practiced self-care as discipline. He reminded himself to rest, to breathe, to return to nature, to reflect each night. He knew that without care for his mind and body, he could not lead with justice. One story tells of Marcus walking through a war camp at dawn, calm amidst exhaustion and chaos. Soldiers drew strength not from his orders, but from his steadiness, his ability to remain grounded because he cared for his inner state. That was his silent attraction, not his crown, not his title, but his presence. Like Marcus, when we practice self-care, we become anchors for others. Our steadiness becomes their strength. And in a noisy, anxious world, nothing is more magnetic than calm resilience born of self-respect. In our time, self-care is often misunderstood as luxury. But true self-care is discipline. It is sleeping enough to think clearly, exercising not for appearance but for strength, eating not for indulgence but for energy. It is also guarding your mental state, journaling, meditating, or simply walking in silence. These practices are not selfish, they are service. Because when you are grounded, you can serve others more fully. In workplaces, leaders who care for themselves inspire trust. They do not burn out or collapse under stress. In relationships, self-care prevents resentment because you give from abundance, not emptiness. People are quietly attracted to those who radiate balance because balance is rare. By practicing self-care, you are not only protecting yourself, you are declaring to the world, I value this life, and I will live it well. And that declaration is powerfully magnetic. Principle 7. The allure of independence. The seventh Stoic principle of silent attraction is independence, the quiet strength of standing on your own. In a society that often glorifies validation, likes, and constant approval, independence is rare. But the Stoics remind us, your happiness must never be chained to the opinions of others. Independence is not isolation, it is inner freedom. It is the ability to walk your path with clarity, to make choices aligned with your values, and to carry yourself without the need for constant reassurance. People are drawn to those who live freely because it signals courage, stability, and self-trust. True independence whispers, "I am enough." And that whisper is more powerful than the loudest shout. Epictetus once declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." His words reveal the essence of independence. Freedom is not measured by wealth or status, but by mastery of your desires, fears, and impulses. To depend on others for worth is to live as their captive. The Stoics teach that true independence is internal, a freedom no external power can take. When you carry yourself with this strength, you do not need to demand respect. You command it silently. People sense it when someone cannot be swayed by opinion or flattery. Independence is not arrogance. It is alignment with your inner compass. And in a world hungry for approval, this self-sufficiency is magnetic. Think of Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, surrounded by senators, generals, and citizens demanding his attention. He could have been enslaved by their praise or broken by their criticism. Yet in his meditations, he wrote for no audience but himself. Those private reflections reveal a man who lived not for applause, but for alignment with virtue. His independence did not mean rejecting others. It meant grounding himself so deeply that no storm of opinion could sway him. Another story tells of Cato the Younger, who stood alone in the Senate, refusing to bend his values even when all others compromised. His independence became legendary, not because he won, but because he never surrendered his integrity. These examples show us that independence is not loud rebellion. It is quiet resilience. It is the courage to stand, even if you stand alone. And that courage makes presence unforgettable. Today, independence is more attractive than ever. Social media trains us to measure our worth by followers, likes, and comments. But silent magnetism belongs to those who step beyond this trap. Independence means creating without craving applause, speaking without fearing judgment, and walking your path without begging for permission. It could be choosing a career others don't understand, living by values that defy trends, or simply making decisions rooted in self-trust. Independence does not mean rejecting relationships. It means entering them from strength, not need. People admire those who live freely because it shows courage. They feel safe around someone who does not bend at every opinion. Independence is steady, dignified, magnetic. When you embody it, you no longer chase validation. Validation finds you. This is the Stoic way, unshaken, self-directed, and quietly powerful. That presence cannot be ignored. We have explored 7 Stoic principles of silent attraction: authenticity, style, presence, cultural wisdom, compassion, self-care, and independence. Together, they reveal a truth. Real magnetism does not shout. It whispers through character. When you embody these values, you do not need to chase attention. Attention flows naturally. Silent attraction is not about tricks, but about living with integrity and depth. In a world filled with noise, your stillness becomes your voice. And in that silence, people see strength. Remember, attraction is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself. The Stoics remind us that true dignity begins within. People are drawn not to noise, but to clarity, not to arrogance, but to authenticity. When you carry yourself with virtue, you command respect without demanding it. The silent person of strength, balance, and depth has more influence than the loudest voice. Live with courage, live with truth, live with independence, and you will discover that silence itself is a source of power. Your task for the next 7 days: practice one principle each day. Choose authenticity today, presence tomorrow, compassion the day after. Write your reflections each night. Observe not only how people respond, but how your own inner calm grows. Silent attraction is built step by step, habit by habit. This is practical stoicism, ancient wisdom alive in your daily choices. Test it, live it, and watch your presence transform. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Stoic wisdom. Remember, attraction does not come from shouting to be heard. It comes from living with truth, courage, and quiet strength. In the silence of your actions, your life will always speak volumes. This is Stoic Miracles, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Until next time, walk with dignity, live with presence, and let your silence inspire the world.